Sandra, how come SBS Bank's rates are so good?
Because they're owned by their customers, not greedy shareholders, so we get a better deal.
Really? Always wanted to own a bank.
Welcome to the Deep South and the SBS Bank Tour of Southland, one of New Zealand's longest running sporting events and one of the most prestigious cycling titles in the country. The list of past winners is a literal who's who of New Zealand cycling greats. Last year's tour was notable for being the retirement swan song for four-time winner Hayden Ralston. It was also a tightly contested event, with the yellow jersey passing through the hands of several riders. Kia Motors Ascot Park held it for the opening stages, but Bluff Hill and Coronet Peak saw the climbing specialists come to the fore. Michael Vink and Michael Torkler both had a turn in the yellow jersey, but the overall title was eventually taken by former Olympic track rider Aaron Gate for Creation Signs L&M Racing. His impressive ride on stage 5 secured him the jersey, and he held onto it into Invercargill's Queen's Park on the final day. Gate does not return for the 2017 event. In his absence, the bookies' favourite could be Otago's Brad Evans. Coming off the back of a successful season in Australia, Evans hasn't raced the Tour since he won it in 2015, but he returns in Pownet colours for another crack. Also back are Vink and Torkler, both with their eye on the yellow once again. With 18 teams lining up for the start and a lot of new faces having their first shot at the event, the 2017 SBS Bank Tour of Southland looks set to be as unpredictable as ever.
This will be number 6. Yeah, number 6. First tour I come dead last, got Lantern Rouge, so number 6, pretty stoked to be here, to be honest. Never give up, really. Determination, teamwork. Meeting cool people. Yeah, it's taught me a lot about myself, to be honest. Ego, pride, image, getting over all that stuff and fighting hard, really. Survive every day.
It's my 9th. I started my first one when I was second year under 19 and yeah, sucker for more punishment every year.
I'm really going to try use this to get my selection for Com Games, I think, and I love being here, and it's one of the best races in the world, I think.
Now we'll play a team role this year, hopefully provide a bit of experience to the guys, and also being local as well, know the roads a wee bit, so can give some advice with when hills are coming up or crosswinds and things like that, so should be good.
To be honest, the weather's not playing its ball. I like it worse. I want it really filthy and rain and windy, because we've got a really good team for those conditions. But I think this year, if it stays like this, then it's going to be really pivotal to get up Coronet and Bluff and go really well up there for the overall. For the Prologue, we probably don't have the horsepower we had last year. We're missing Alex Frame and Fraser Goff. But on the whole tour, on the outlook, we've got some really good climbers. I think our main threat will be the depth. We've got many guys that could do really well at this tour, and it's going to be hard for everyone to mark each rider, I think.
As has been the tradition for many years, the SBS Bank Tour of Southland opened with the team's time trial around Invercargill's Queen's Park. In perfect conditions, the assembled teams got their first hit out on the roads of Southland. As if to underscore the unpredictability of this 2017 event, 4 teams posted the same time, with Kia Motors Ascot Park, Team Skoda Racing, Team Aardvark Excavators and Team Placemakers all posting times of 4 minutes 53 seconds. Ahead of them, the 3 fastest times of the day. Blinds Direct crossed the line 3rd fastest, posting 4:51. Mike Greer-Holmes, with former national time trial champion Michael Vink, crossed 2nd in a time of 4:49. But celebrating his 29th birthday in style was Roman Van Uden from the Pownet team. The boys in blue pushed hard over the 4.2 kilometre course, setting Van Uden up to cross the line 4 seconds ahead of their closest rivals. Van Uden and Pownet will start the first full stage of the tour with the yellow Tour Leaders jersey.
Yeah, to go as fast as possible, like not to lose any time. So we did one better and gained time on some of the rolls. So yeah, worked out really well. Team's in the lead. It's perfect.
The time trial's just 100% go for it. So it's more a niggly thing. It shows how strong you could be and how fast you are. But for the whole tour, it sets you up okay. But it's not a telltale sign of who's going to win. So let the roads decide now.
This is a whole new squad. We're trying to make it up of local guys, so it's really cool. Getting all these local sponsors to join in has really been awesome, yeah. And the whole team, support crew, they're all locals, so yeah, it's a real Southland team in a way, yeah.
We'll hope for some top places on some GC and maybe get around some breaks and yeah, sure to see us out there in the bright pink, just representing the sponsors.
Southland has put it on. There's everything about this race. The race organisers, the Southland itself and the community makes this race, you know, one of the best in the country.
So day one, the official road stage of the 61st edition of this SBS Bank Tour of Southland offers a lot of straight roads as well as a few ups and downs later on into the stage, Doug.
These riders will still be thinking about unpredictability, Gillian. The SBS Bank Tour throws everything at you. Terrain, tactics, temperature, and the last one, of course, tenacity. And these riders will be thinking about that word all through this tour.
Also in the mix there, Doug, is of course we've got a lot of new riders, a lot of young guns coming up through the ranks who have been racing very well overseas over the last 12 months. It's quite a changing of the guard. Also, of course, you got 2015 Brad Evans in there with a bit of experience, but this could be the year to throw up a lot of new names.
It's great to see, and it really makes for an exciting race, doesn't it? New teams, we've got a number of new squads in here, like you've said, and here we are right from the start. We've seen this time and time again on the SBS Bank Tour. These guys just get into it right from the gun.
On offer right from the get-go, of course, is all these various preems so they can try and take out some top prizes for themselves and, of course, get into the Harcourt Sprint Ace as one of the first jerseys on offer here in the first few hundred metres here of Stage 1.
Along these preems, you're collecting the points, of course, but you're also collecting prize money as we go, and it's the prize money and the accumulation of the points which is the motivator. So once again, some early points for the Central Bench Makers Will Bike team. There's a long way to go, 170 Ks in the stage, and when you hit the stage like they do at the start, it's a long, long way to go.
So here we can see the 18 teams well spread out as they've come through Thornbury, across towards the Fairfax area, and eventually going to drop down into a Tautau. And of course, a number of those sprints are still available that have time bonuses as well. So what that means for a number of these riders, if they potentially play their cards right, they could pick up a few extra seconds and potentially then put themselves into the number one position, the yellow jersey, at the end of a day.
You can just see all this jockeying for position. It's exactly what you're saying, Julian. And this is a very, very dangerous part of these sorts of stages, very early in a stage race, such as the Tour of Southland. We've seen it before in this stage to Lumsden. A group gets away. Next thing you know, they've got enough time up their sleeves to become dangerous. The way the conditions are today, though, it's making it a wee bit easier for the group to stay together, which will be really, really helping some of these guys, especially the yellow jerseys team, trying to keep things together, as you can see.
You're absolutely right, Doug. These conditions will play a significant part in the way in which these riders approach today's stage.
Here we are coming into a Tautau. This brings back a lot of memories, Julian. A couple of dicey railway lines coming up here. I've seen many, many riders fall off coming in here.
Yeah, thanks to some fantastic support from the community with a lot of the officials volunteering out there. They'll keep them nice and safe. You can see them waving away to let those riders know about that railway line as they set themselves up for the first of the sprints through a Tautau. There's about 4 of them that they'll have through the main street here, and you can see they're starting to lick their lips together here to try and pick up a few extra dollars and potentially those time bonuses.
The Aardvark Excavators team, they're really been quite prominent at the start of the stage. You can see here number 91, which is Morgan Smith from Auckland. He's having a good crack. James Williamson, of course, from the Creation Signs L&M group. Rico, he's a campaigner. This guy is one of the guys that's going to do a lot of work for these fellas this week.
And when you talk experience, they are two riders that are very experienced, as Nick Kirkazoo there from the National Track Squad comes onto the outside for placemakers. And down on the inside, the sprint to the line to get themselves, or they're all looking at each other. They'll be waiting to the end of the day to find out who picked up the big points for themselves.
Nick Kirkazoo, a former local, he's now based in Cambridge, of course, riding out of the Placemakers team. He is one guy to look for, and you'll notice, if we've followed Nick Kirkazoo over the years, he is looking very, very strong. He's put on a lot of muscle, and this kid is here to win this race. I think it would be well worth looking for him.
So as we now make our way out the other side of the Tau for some of the rolling hills that we talked about at the top of the story here tonight, where the riders now are looking pretty relaxed, allowing one or two of them just to slip off the front here, and the conditions still fantastic for these riders on day one, Doug.
Yeah, this is quite a tough wee climb coming out of a Tau, and the conditions have been reasonably good. There's a couple of the, one of the Business South and one of the Kia Motors Ascot Park Hotel team members getting across. That could be one of the Americans. And I think this might be Callum Gordon from the Business South team, which is another local team sponsored here out of Invercargill. So this is great. It's great to see these guys having a go.
Yeah, the man from Gisborne's decided he's going to give it a bit of a nudge up this rise here, and it looks like a former United States champion, Eric Marcotte. He's been here in the past riding for the Kia Motors Ascot team, so he's got plenty of experience not only riding a bike, but particularly, which it always counts for, is how to ride a Tour of Southland. So these two have decided they're going to give it a wee bit of a nudge and see what sort of reaction they can get from the field.
Marcotte come across really, really quick, and you'll notice he's using an enormous gear in relation to the gear that Callum Gordon's riding, but this is a good guy to have away. He's a seasoned campaigner. The Kia team always turn up to race, and they've blown this first stage apart in previous editions, so let's just wait and see.
You can see some of the surges going on the front of the race. In the green jersey, of course, Michael Vink. But there he is, the birthday boy from yesterday, Roman Van Uden in the yellow. We've got the likes of Talkless team with Blinds Direct also keeping a very close eye on the front of the race. They'll be making some quick decisions as to whether they allow these sorts of guys to challenge for the GC, let them up the road a little bit, and just keep a close eye on them throughout the day.
Decision time for these two. They're committed. You can see here they're working away quite nicely. Callum Gordon is probably one of the better signings that Alan Dunn has got in the Business South team. And here you can see the American Marcotte. He's a very, very experienced bike rider, races a lot in America. These conditions will suit him too. And you can see they're just getting into their work nicely.
And these two have certainly set into it here as a good two teammates now. They'll ignore the colours. They know they have to work very well in unison together here if they're going to make any sort of inroads into the rest of the peloton. The conditions aren't allowing for the splits to happen easily today, so these two have taken it on their own backs to use a bit of a rise in the road and try and open up a decent sort of a gap.
Two contrasting styles. You can see there Eric Marcotte at the front. He's pushing a big gear. He's a solid guy. Callum Gordon behind him is more of a time trial type sort of guy. The peloton is reacting. Power Net, Paul Odlin, the Stonewood Homes jersey wearer, is at the front. These guys are going to make sure this isn't going to get too far.
Yeah, these are the guys, of course, who have the man in yellow. So it's expected of them as part of protocol to be at the front of the field and trying to shut things down, to try and control the race. But they'll know what they have to do. They'll be getting the time checks from the race commissaires. The motorbikes will be coming up beside them, letting them know what's going on up ahead before they decide when they need to actually make some inroads that are grouped off the front there. So our two leaders still out in front, but it looks like Callum Gordon has decided enough is enough. They've been out there for over 90 kilometres of this stage. They've picked up a significant amount of the points for both the Harcourt Sprint Ace and the Jesco Hydraulics King of the Mountains. Marcotte, he's just out of the seat stretching the legs because we're now getting down to around 30-second call to the chasing peloton.
A brave effort from these two, and a really typical Kia Motors Ascot Park first day move. It's always terrible when you're in the front and you see the vans passing you because you know the peloton are breathing down your neck. The Aardvark Excavators Limited team, a new team to this year's tour, Julian, man, are they pushing the pace.
Yes, they've decided they're going to come here and race right from day one, putting the pressure on the front. As we can see, the peloton is being drastically reduced here as we approach the last 30 to 40 kilometres of this stage. This is where the race is starting to awaken here, and it looks like the likes of local man Matthew Zenovich, a former Harcourt Sprint Ace winner and stage victor. He's been in great performances over in China in recent times. He's come here to race strong.
Yeah, he was talking the tour up before the start. He's, like you said, he's done a lot of racing, and Matt Zenovich is one local who's got the potential to win this race. He's going to have to ride a heady race, though, having been in the same team as Michael Vink. That's going to be an interesting dynamic. There we are. You can see from yesterday the Harcourt Sprint Ace jersey on the shoulders of number 31, Vink. So he's one of the favourites to win. So this is going to be an interesting finish, Julian.
And also note the man that's with him, Brad Evans, there covered in the sunblock, and that's a former winner in 2015, one of the other favourites. So Vink and Evans keeping a very close eye on each other there as former Junior Worlds representative Josh Haggerty makes an appearance towards the front for the Placemakers team.
It's starting to split, isn't it? You can see here some of the Placemakers guys have been caught a wee bit further back and are now making their way up on the back of the Powernet Tour leader. Gosh, that's a strong ride coming in there from Roman van Uden.
So the big hitters in this year's race are starting to come towards the fore of it here as they get rid of the bottles. You can see a few being thrown away, lighting themselves up for the big sprint finish, of course, into Lumsden, a traditional finish in the Tour for a number of years.
Yes, the protected riders in this race are unprotected here in this kind of wind. You have to get to the front, you have to be in that front group, and you have to be in that first 15 or 20 riders, otherwise things slip down the road. Next minute you know you're left behind. Here again, Kia Motors, Ascot Park, they're near the front. They never let much go, these guys. They're racing for a stage win, it's quite obvious.
We can see Vink's hand going up in the air. He's not happy with things as Team Skoda Racing make an appearance towards the front. They put a bit of pressure on, opening a few more of the gaps here. Everyone wants to be a winner of a stage in the Tour, and on day one in particular here, as you can see the riders, the pressure going well on here. With the tailwind, they'll start picking up to around 60 kilometres an hour.
Yeah, this is full gas here, it really is, and there's a bit of jockeying for position. You can see the riders all looking round at each other, who's going to chase. Meanwhile, another one of the Kia Motors Ascot Park team up the road and are looking round. This could be the move.
You've got to be extremely attentive. And here it is, the man in the yellow jersey. He is a former stage winner into Lumsden here. He knows what it's all about here, and he's decided to go across the gap himself, leaving the remainder of his team. So this will have a lot of the rest of the teams starting to think twice about what they need to do.
Gosh, I've been impressed with Roman van Uden's efforts. A couple of times he got caught out of position there in a crosswind, and we've just seen a classic getting across to a break move. This guy's really got some form.
We can see the Blinds Direct colours there of rider 121, Michael Torkler, the man who loves going uphill. He's Coronet Peak. He's the man that took that out last year, but he's decided to have a wee sneaky move off the front here, and he's taken Piccoli of Canada, one of the men from the Kia Motors Ascot Park team. And of course, the man in the yellow jersey is not allowing any gaps to happen because we know it's extremely tight at the top of the general classification.
You can see things starting to shred up a bit here at the front too. It wouldn't surprise me if this front group here, and you can see Roman van Uden, the Tour leader in the yellow jersey, go back to the peloton. So it's left back to these two guys. What are they going to do? Are they going to put their heads down and commit, or are they going to fox round and sit up? It's a very fast finish from here, Julian.
Yes, we don't know a lot about the man from Canada here, but he's obviously been given the nod by the team to try and sneak off with just over 5 kilometres to go into Lumsden here. And he's with Torkler, who's powering into it to try and sneak back a few more of those seconds. And here comes another man from Kia Motors. This would be Taylor Gunman, a man who's experienced also the top of the podium when it comes to the Coronet Peak climb, but he's decided he's going to get out there and try and get himself back some seconds as well.
Michael Torkler's move here is interesting, Julian. He's one of my picks for the overall lead of this year's SBS Bank Tour, and this could be one of his strategies to try and sneak a wee bit of time early on in the race, get that valuable few seconds. These Kia Motors Ascot Park guys, though, gosh, they've come out here with full intent. This is incredible.
Gunman driving it through, a former New Zealand time trial champion. He's got Piccoli of Canada in behind him. There we see it with Torkler waiting patiently. That's a very long straight into the finish of Lumsden. They haven't got much time, but it's all about time when it comes to the Tour. And there's been a lot of talk due to the fantastic conditions that are forecast over the first few days. It could come down to only a matter of seconds.
Yes, here we go. We're coming into the business end of things, and Taylor Gunman, gosh, he's ridden this tour a number of times. He's had a fantastic year overseas racing Tour of Britain. This guy really knows how to win a stage, and you can see here things now starting to split up. The Kia guys are working together. Back at the chasing group, it's Josh Haggerty on the front for the Placemakers team, but there's plenty of road between them and this group.
There's a few boys in there with some decent sort of sprints on them, so these guys cannot let up whatsoever. As they make their way down the back straight of into Lumsden here, they'll swing to the right here and a long ascent up towards the finish.
I think Michael Torkler's playing a pretty cunning game here. He's ridden this race a number of times, Michael Torkler. He's a very heady bike rider. He's one of the favourites to win. And once you get up to the end of the road and start turning right, it's not far to the finish. So it's going to be interesting to see what the tactics are from these two right through to the end.
It'll be also interesting to see what PowerNet decides to do. Yes, they've got the man in the yellow jersey with a very good sprint on him, as is Brad Evans, as they line themselves up into the sprint finish. As we said, you can see it right up in the long stretch there. These guys cannot go too early, but at the same time, they can feel the breathing of that chasing peloton.
And here it is, the Kia Motors rider, number 15, James Piccoli from Canada. He's committed. Torkler's right in behind him, Julian. This is going to go right down to the line, isn't it?
Piccoli desperately trying to hold on to it. Will we get an international win here on day one? As Torkler waits patiently, he can hear them coming on. They're breathing down onto him here as Piccoli tries to hold on. Here comes Van Uden in the yellow. Van Uden coming up onto the outside. Torkler desperately holding on as they throw to the bikes to the line. And Torkler, the man who's usually known for going uphill, takes out a fantastic sprint finish and snavels back a few more seconds over the man in the yellow jersey, Van Uden. And I think Piccoli might have just hung on for third place. A mere 15 seconds covers the top 10 in this year's tour, with Van Uden holding on to a 5-second advantage over Torkler, the stage winner today. Former New Zealand champion James Williamson secures 14 points to have a 2-point buffer over Callum Gordon and Eric Marcotte, back on 8 points in the Harcourt Sprint Ace. While the Jesco Hydraulics King of the Mountain sees Callum Gordon, after being out front for the majority of the day, put himself into the polka dot jersey over Marcotte and Barquette. Meanwhile, Callum Pearce is the Henderson Construction under-23 leader by a mere 3 seconds over local Nick Kirkazoo and Australian Cyrus Monk. While Paul Odlin continues to hold on to the Stonewood Homes silver jersey for 35 years plus riders by 14 seconds over Hagan and McPherson of Southland. And Florian Barquet was the man that was rewarded today with the Southland Times Most Combative Rider. PowerNet continues their dominance into day 2 of this tour here after taking out the stage on day 1 around Queen's Park. They now have a 12-second buffer over Mike Greer Homes and Kia Motors.
Oh no, I'm here to win. No doubt about that. That's as good a start as you can get, really. We're right there in the mix, limiting any losses, and obviously the legs are feeling good, and my teammates rode unreal today. I didn't have to touch the wind all day, and they just looked after me and covered everything, and certainly got a lot of confidence in them now.
Second on the stage to Michael Torkler's pretty good. He managed to skip away in the last 5k, and a bunch of 20 we were in just didn't quite mow him down. I managed to pop out from the group with about 300 to go and finished by about half a wheel behind him. Good to be in yellow, don't want to give it away for free.
Follow the action from this historic race all week with live race updates, full results and pictures at www.tourofsouthland.com.